The ceremony was solemnly interrupted by the barking of a dog at the coffin. A man, puzzled, asked why, causing the priest to grow uneasy, and soon a startling truth emerged. On this overcast day, the atmosphere was as mournful as the gathered crowd at Sarah's graveside, enveloped in a heavy silence. Many clutched tissues, while others, with eyes brimming with tears, fondly recalled the joyful times they had shared with her. The gentle breeze whispered through the leaves, adding a natural solemnity to the farewell. Suddenly the quiet was shattered by an unexpected noise. It was Rex, Sarah's devoted dog. His barking was relentless. Rex was no ordinary pet. He had been Sarah's constant shadow. Now, before all assembled, he fixated on the coffin, his barking intensifying. The crowd exchanged uneasy glances. "What does he see?" they murmured among themselves. The discomfort was palpable as some attendees began to pace, their eyes locked on the scene. Rex's barking escalated, his urgent tone suggesting he was alerting them to some hidden danger. Rex was renowned throughout the town not just for his loyalty, but for an almost supernatural intuition, recognized even beyond the affections he garnered. As he continued, some children felt an eerie shiver, recalling tales of dogs with the ability to perceive beyond human senses. What was Rex attempting to reveal? Clearly, he sensed something profound, something that even the grown-ups found disconcerting, yet no one dared voice their thoughts aloud. Rex's focused stare indicated that something was amiss, right there and then. As several adults moved closer to try and soothe him, his unyielding barking and fixed gaze on the coffin suggested an urgent concern. His determined stance and intensity even caused skeptics to pause. Curiosity swelled among the crowd, prompting everyone to seek an understanding of Rex's message. Father Edward, positioned near the front by the coffin, became the focal point as all eyes turned to him and Rex. Attempting to regain control, he inhaled deeply and motioned for calm, yet Rex's barking persisted, unabated. With a forced, uneasy smile, the priest sensed the unfolding of an unusual event, with Rex's intense stare urging them to heed his warning. Approaching Rex, Father Edward spoke soothingly, "Come on, Rex, calm down. Everything is fine here." Yet Rex's continued barking suggested he was alerting them to an unseen danger. As the priest reached out to pet Rex, the dog recoiled and growled, his attention unwavering from the coffin. Beads of sweat formed on Father Edward's forehead as he wiped it away, feeling the congregation's eyes on him. He attempted to dismiss the tension with a nervous chuckle, saying, "It's just a dog," hoping to redirect their focus to the ceremony. But internally, even he felt uneasy, as if he too was beginning to recognize that Rex might be exposing a profound truth that demanded their attention. Some attendees observed that the priest seemed deliberately to avoid looking directly at the coffin, almost as if he were afraid of seeing what Rex was so intently focused on. An elderly woman, suspicion evident in her whisper to a friend, questioned, "Does he know something?" A sense of eerie unease spread among the crowd, an inexplicable chill permeating the air. The children, both curious and frightened, clung tighter to their parents' hands. Amidst the growing tension, Father Edward called out with a firm voice, "Please, someone take the dog outside." Yet Rex stood his ground, continuing his relentless barking and fixated stare at the coffin, deepening the mystery rather than alleviating it. In the midst of this confusion, a relatively unknown man named James, who had only recently come to the village, appeared unusually well placed to witness the unfolding events. Although he was a newcomer with no deep ties to Sarah, he seemed to harbor a unique fondness for her. Known for his keen observational skills and a penchant for solving mysteries, James was immediately struck by Rex's behavior, sensing that the dog's actions were far from baseless. Rising slowly, he adjusted his coat and approached Rex, drawing the curious gazes of many. Kneeling beside Rex, James softly said, "Hello, little friend. What are you trying to show us?" At the sound of James's calm inquiry, Rex momentarily ceased barking, seeming to evaluate the stranger before him. His eyes, bright with intelligence and tinged with both fear and a hopeful plea, met James's. Recognizing the earnestness in Rex's gaze, James then shifted his focus to the coffin, feeling an instinctual pull, a chill coursing through him, urging him to delve deeper into the mystery at hand. The congregation's whispers swelled into a murmur of confusion and intrigue. One man's voice cut through, "Leave the dog alone," trying to break the tension, but James remained unfazed, shaking his head dismissively. "I think Rex is trying to tell us something important," he insisted, his eyes never leaving the coffin, "and maybe we should listen." Leaning in closer to Rex, he whispered encouragingly, "Come on, boy. Show me what's bothering you." Rex's tail gave a slight wag, recognizing James's intent to assist. His barking ceased, and he began to sniff the ground, cautiously moving towards the casket as if unveiling a secret known only to him. As Rex led and James followed, the crowd exchanged stories of animals' legendary sixth senses, discussing tales of pets that had sensed unseen dangers or supernatural occurrences before any human could. Rex's behavior unnerved them, and James speculated aloud that the dog might be alerting them to something beyond human perception. The air thickened with suspense, prompting silent speculations on whether Rex was sensing something otherworldly or if there was a deeper mystery tied to Sarah's demise. Father Edward, visibly disturbed by the escalating situation, realized he needed to regain control. He inhaled deeply, straightened his cassock, and moved decisively to the church's center, his gaze sweeping over the congregation. Raising his hands for silence, his voice wavered slightly despite his attempt to sound authoritative. "Please, everyone calm down," he implored. "We are here to pay our final respects to Sarah, someone so dear to all of us." His eyes then locked on James and Rex, who were still by the casket, as he tried to grasp what the dog was determined to reveal. "It is inappropriate," Father Edward continued with increased volume, "for anyone to disrupt this solemn occasion." Some parishioners nodded in agreement, but others exchanged wary glances, filled with both distrust and curiosity toward the priest. His anxiety was palpable, and his eagerness to conclude the disturbance only fueled their suspicion. He then pointed directly at James. "What you are doing is disrespectful to Sarah," he pronounced, his voice growing louder and more severe. "Leave that dog alone and stop distracting everyone with this nonsense." Despite the gravity of the priest's admonition, James stood his ground. The priest's overzealous efforts to quell the situation only intensified James's suspicions. At his side, Rex emitted a low growl, mirroring his disapproval of the priest's tone. The priest, realizing his diminishing hold over the crowd, pleaded, "Please, let's not tarnish Sarah's memory with this behavior. We gathered here to pray for her soul and her eternal peace." Yet for many, peace seemed increasingly elusive with each moment. The priest's words carried a veneer of concern, but the perspiration on his forehead and the tremor in his hands suggested deeper anxieties. A tense silence enveloped the congregation as all eyes turned to James, anticipating his next move. Recognizing the priest's discomfort and his fervent desire to swiftly divert the conversation, James chose to pose the question that loomed in everyone's minds. With a steady voice and eyes fixed on the priest, he inquired, "Father Edward, how exactly did Sarah die?" The atmosphere in the church instantly charged. Whispers escalated and looks of astonishment were exchanged as James boldly confronted the priest. Father Edward, taken aback, widened his eyes, his composure shaken. He had consistently maintained that Sarah had died peacefully in her sleep. Yet, confronted with James's direct question, he stammered, "What do you mean, how did she die? I found her myself in her bed. She passed peacefully, sleeping." She died in her sleep, he repeated, his voice betraying a need for self-assurance. James, resolute, took a step closer and pressed on. But why was Sarah alone, and why were you the first to find her? Doesn't that strike you as odd? The murmurs in the church escalated, mixing curiosity with discomfort. Children gazed on, wide-eyed and puzzled, while adults whispered, heightening the tension. Father Edward's face flushed red, his anger barely contained. He stamped his foot, silencing the crowd. "This is absurd," he shouted, indignation in his voice. "You are causing chaos at a sacred ceremony, disrespecting the memory of a dearly loved woman." Pointing shakily at James, he commanded, "Leave this place immediately, you and that dog." His tone was authoritative, yet his words trembled with nervousness. "We will not tolerate your disruptions any further." James paused, weighing his next move, when Rex barked loudly, as if urging him on. Emboldened by Rex's defiance, James sensed he was onto something crucial, something the priest desperately wanted hidden. Resigned, he grasped Rex's collar, exchanged a final defiant glance with the priest, and started towards the exit. As the congregation's whispers intensified, filled with confusion and speculation, James stepped outside into the brisk air. He felt the weight of the community's curious and suspicious eyes on his back, but he couldn't just walk away. The enigma of Sarah's death beckoned him, a dark mystery that seemed to deepen. Rex, feeling the charged atmosphere, wagged his tail, eager and ready for the challenge ahead. "Come on, buddy," James murmured to Rex. "I think we have a lot to uncover here." Together they ventured into the cemetery, navigating between ancient trees and worn gravestones. The cold wind stirred the leaves, their rustling like hushed whispers in the eerie quiet. James scanned the surroundings, his instincts sharpening. This place concealed secrets. Rex, with relentless energy, sniffed the ground, guided by a keen sense that seemed almost supernatural. Determined to follow the trail, James knew his first task was to delve deeper into Sarah's past. He journeyed to her quaint home, a modest structure of stone poised on the forest's brink, encircled by a garden lost to the past. Upon his arrival, he was greeted by an unlocked door, suggesting a hasty departure that left more mysteries than it solved. Stepping inside, James was struck by a sudden coldness. Dust layered everything, yet signs of recent activity were evident, with some items appearing displaced. Rex, his faithful dog, nosed about as James delved into the nooks, opening drawers and sifting through piles of papers and old documents. It was in this search that he stumbled upon a small, aged wooden box resting on a time-worn desk. Inside, he discovered letters and photographs, each tinged with the hue of antiquity. Reading through the letters, James uncovered that Sarah harbored deep secrets. The letters spoke of clandestine rendezvous and covert discussions with outsiders. His pulse quickened as he uncovered a particular letter, penned by Sarah herself. It disclosed alarming revelations about Father Edward. Sharing a knowing look with Rex, who appeared increasingly uneasy, James felt they were on the brink of a significant discovery. His exploration led him to a small key, discreetly taped behind a picture frame. Whispering to himself, "What does this key unlock?" Rex barked softly as though urging him on. Nearby, he noticed a photo showing Sarah with Father Edward standing in front of the church. What grabbed James' attention the most was a detail in the photo's corner, a small metal box, identical to the one mentioned in Sarah's letters, where she claimed the priest concealed funds. "We're on the right path, Rex," James spoke, gently stroking the dog. "If Sarah was hinting at something crucial about the priest, this key might just lead us to what we need to know." Fueled by resolve, James clutched the small key and, with Rex at his heels, felt the truth within their grasp. He was determined to unearth whatever secrets the priest concealed, requiring a thorough examination of the entire village. What are your thoughts? Do you believe James is making the right decisions? If you were in his shoes, what would you do? Share your views in the comments below and stay tuned for the unexpected twists this story is about to take. Holding the key, James and Rex headed back to the village center to delve deeper into their investigation. The village exuded a deceptive peace, yet James was convinced there were ominous secrets lurking beneath. He was intent on decoding the mysteries Sarah had stumbled upon concerning Father Edward. With this goal in mind, James ventured into the town library, a repository of dusty books and ancient records. He scoured the shelves for any link between Sarah and Father Edward that stood out as unusual. Eventually, he unearthed an old photo album chronicling town life. As he flipped through it, he found pictures from local celebrations and religious events. When he reached images of Sarah, one in particular grabbed his attention, an unsettling photo of her with Father Edward, marked by her visibly troubled expression, suggesting she was burdened with fearsome knowledge. That's when James spotted a barely noticeable detail in the photo's margin, a small metal box, identical to the one in the picture from Sarah's home. Compelled by this lead, he returned to her residence, driven to piece together the puzzle. Back at her home, he resumed his search, ultimately discovering a hidden compartment behind an old drapery that held a notebook, Sarah's diary, filled with entries that appeared vital to unlocking the mystery. James rapidly pored over the diary entries with Rex close by, sensing the rising tension in the air. The notes disclosed a grim reality. Sarah had unearthed a corruption network deep within the church itself. She detailed how Father Edward had been siphoning funds from the congregation for nefarious purposes, secretly amassing substantial amounts. With each line, James's heart pounded faster as he absorbed the revelations. Sarah's written words were clear. He's exploiting the community's faith to conceal his misdeeds, echoing through the pages. Within the diary, James found an envelope stuffed with additional photographs. Some depicted Father Edward at hidden spots around the church, often with the same small metal box. One particular photo showed him next to an ancient statue inside the church, the box conspicuously placed as though hiding something underneath the revered artifact. A shiver coursed through James's body. "This is it," he whispered to Rex, a mixture of realization and resolve in his voice. She found out everything, and it put her in danger. Now, more than ever, James was compelled to locate that metal box within the church. It seemed to hold the answers to the entire mystery. Glancing at Rex, who responded with an eager wag of his tail as if sensing the impending breakthrough, James felt a surge of determination. "Let's go, boy! There's a massive secret waiting for us," he declared, feeling the gravity of the situation. The stakes were higher than he had initially thought. Armed with Sarah's diary, the weight of her words pressed upon him, each revelation heavy with the burden of truth waiting to be disclosed. James knew his next destination had to be the church, the nexus of all the enigmas. With Rex by his side, he traversed the narrow village pathways, his adrenaline surging with each step towards uncovering the crucial metal box that Sarah's notes had promised was the linchpin to unraveling everything. As James arrived at the church, he paused to ensure they were alone. Silence enveloped the building, its doors slightly open, casting shadows across the interior. With cautious steps, he and Rex entered, the quiet atmosphere heightening the tension. James's memory of the photo led him directly to a secluded statue of a saint, its stern gaze seemingly guarding a secret. Kneeling, his hands trembling with anticipation, James searched the statue's base. His fingers soon brushed against a hidden piece of fabric. Pushing it aside, he revealed the metal box described in Sarah's diary. As he lifted the box, his heartbeat quickened, Rex's excited tail wag echoing his own nerves. Opening the box, James found it filled with rolled bundles of money, each labeled as donations or tithes from the churchgoers. Yet there was more. A small key lay beneath the cash. He held it up to the dim light streaming through the church windows, pondering its purpose. "A key," he whispered, curiosity mounting. It was then he noticed a yellowed piece of paper beneath the money layers. He carefully unfolded it to find a map marked with a red circle labeled Church Storage. It clicked for James. This key must unlock a hidden area where Sarah likely stumbled upon crucial evidence. A mixture of fear and resolve filled him as he grasped the key tighter. "We have to find this storage, Rex," he said decisively, urgency in his voice. With the key in hand and Rex by his side, James prepared to uncover the secrets that Sarah had risked so much to expose. They were about to delve deeper into the hidden depths of the church, ready to confront whatever truths lay waiting. James and Rex, unified in their resolve, meticulously scoured the church, guided by the map's cryptic directions. The silence deepened, enveloping them in a palpable tension as they approached the hidden door behind the altar. A foreboding chill gripped James as he neared, the air thick with an ominous essence suggesting the concealment of dark secrets. With a steady hand, James inserted the key and turned it, the lock yielding with a reluctant creak. The door swung open to reveal a staircase spiraling down into darkness. Clutching a flickering flashlight, James led the way down with Rex at his heels, alert to every sound. They reached a damp corridor at the base of the stairs, the air cool and musty. At its end, a solitary bulb flickered weakly, throwing shadows that danced along the stone walls. Then, a chilling sound, a metallic clink of chains, reverberated through the corridor. Softly calling out "Sarah," James's voice echoed back at him in the haunting silence. As he entered the dimly lit room, the sight that met his eyes sent a wave of relief and shock through him. There, bound and pale yet unmistakably alive, was Sarah chained to a chair. "Sarah!" he cried out. Her weak reply, "James!" was a whisper of relief. But before he could move towards her, heavy footsteps thundered behind him. Spinning around, James was met with the furious gaze of Father Edward, who wielded a wooden plank menacingly. "You shouldn't be here!" the priest bellowed, his voice a distorted roar of anger. "I told you would never find Sarah!" With barely a moment to react, James dodged as the priest swung at him. The plank grazed him, throwing him off balance and onto the ground. Scrambling to defend himself, James raised his hands, his mind reeling with disbelief. How could Father Edward, a figure meant to embody sanctity and virtue, descend into such violent wrath? The reality of the priest's betrayal was as painful as the physical threat he now posed. As he lay on the floor, the priest raised his hand to strike once more, but Rex, without a second's delay, barked ferociously and pounced, clamping his teeth onto the priest's leg with formidable strength. The priest's howls of agony resounded off the basement's walls. He struggled to dislodge Rex, but the loyal dog clung on, unwavering in his determination to defend his master. In a frenzy, the priest let go of the wooden plank and started hobbling away, crying out for assistance. James leapt up, his pulse racing, and thought he must not escape. The truth has to be exposed. With Rex relentlessly pursuing Father Edward, they emerged onto the street, attracting the attention of the neighborhood with their ruckus. Onlookers were stunned to see Father Edward, a figure of reverence, entangled in a fierce scuffle with James. While Rex maintained a tight grip, seizing the moment, James called out, "Stop! Everyone needs to hear the truth about what happened." As the priest struggled to free himself, James swiftly shared his discoveries. The box filled with stolen funds, Sarah's abduction, and Father Edward's concealed offences. Astonishment etched itself on the villagers' faces as they struggled to grasp the unfolding revelations. Cornered, Father Edward attempted to flee, but Rex anchored him steadfastly until a few locals stepped forward to assist in detaining him. With the priest now secured, James saw it as the moment to lay bare the evidence. He led the crowd back to the church and, with hands still shaking, unveiled the metal box to all. The sight of the misappropriated funds and a map leading to the secret cache of the priest's unlawful ventures left no room for doubt. The truth was finally out in the open. James guided the crowd to the storage where Sarah, visibly shaken, awaited her freedom. Her face lit up with relief as Rex, sensing his duty fulfilled, joyously wagged his tail. With Father Edward restrained and his misdeeds laid bare, it appeared the mystery was resolved. The villagers were astounded by the revelations, yet James was aware of Father Edward's reluctance to give in. As the townspeople deliberated their next steps, the priest, in a desperate moment, exploited a brief lapse in vigilance. With a look of intense loathing, he wriggled free from his captors. Snatching a wooden plank from the ground, he charged at James, fury in his eyes, yelling resentfully, "You understand nothing! You should have stayed out of this!" James froze, stunned as he watched the priest approach with the plank aimed at him. His mind reeled, unable to grasp the violent image of the priest before him. But just as the strike was about to land, Rex intervened. The dog lunged, sinking his teeth into Father Edward's leg once again, eliciting a scream that reverberated through the street. As the priest fell, struggling to escape Rex's grasp, James snapped out of his shock and rushed to intervene. He grappled with the priest on the ground amidst the chaos of growls and cries. In a fleeting moment of struggle, Father Edward slipped from Rex's hold and staggered towards the village square, his limp pronounced. But Rex was relentless. With fierce barks echoing behind him, the dog swiftly caught up and with a forceful pounce brought Father Edward down in the square. The gathered onlookers were in utter disbelief, never having imagined that Father Edward, a supposed paragon of virtue, would be caught in such a disgraceful and desperate plight. James approached the gathering, his breaths quick and uneven, as he started to share everything he had found out. The crowd listened closely, captivated by his narrative about the discoveries Sarah had made. James revealed that Sarah had discovered Father Edward was diverting the church's funds for his own secretive purposes. He also disclosed that the priest had masterminded Sarah's abduction to silence her. Some villagers, stunned by the revelations, restrained Father Edward, while James, eager to validate his claims, guided them back to the church. Holding a small metal box, James felt its heft, burdened not just by its physical weight but by the heavy truth it contained. Upon opening the box, he displayed rows of money, neatly arranged and marked with the donors' names, sending waves of shock through the congregation. Then, presenting a key he had found, James explained it unlocked a hidden storage area within the church itself. The crowd followed him to this room, where they found Sarah, frail and chained. The sight of her alive triggered a collective sigh of relief and astonishment. Sarah, overwhelmed yet relieved, could barely grasp her safety. Rex, her faithful dog, bounded towards her, tail wagging joyfully as if understanding that his friend was finally safe. The emotional scene moved everyone, who were now comforted by Sarah's presence and the unveiling of the truth. Confronted with his deeds, Father Edward attempted to defend himself, but the assembly dismissed his excuses. The trust and devotion they once had was gone, replaced by the stark reality of his actions. James and Rex had revealed the deceitful nature of someone they had never suspected. With the priest now in custody and the community informed of all that had occurred, the mystery was resolved and justice achieved. Grateful, Sarah thanked James and Rex for their bravery and dedication in rescuing her and exposing the truth. As the police escorted Father Edward away, the village, still reeling, began to mend on foundations of openness and trust. Newly enlightened about the concealed secrets, they united to transform their home into a beacon of honesty and integrity. James, having risked so much to reveal the truth, chose to stay and aid Sarah's recovery, integrating himself into the fabric of the community and finding new purpose. His courage and companionship touched everyone, making him a central figure in their new chapter. Rex, celebrated as a local hero, received adoration from children and adults alike, his role in uncovering the truth universally acknowledged. Bound by their shared sacrifice and courage, the villagers embarked on a new journey, fortified by a collective commitment to truth that would empower them moving forward. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this video. If you were inspired by the courage of Rex and James, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement means a lot to us.